Don't throw out that old chair until you see this. I started by giving the chair a good clean with hot soapy water and letting it air dry. While I loved the original distressed black finish, a few stubborn marks wouldn't budge, so I repainted it using Fusion's cast iron. Choosing a color close to the original meant I only needed one coat. Next, I measured and cut 2 wood boards to fit the chair rungs, lightly sanding the edges. I clamped the chair on its side and carefully cut off the 2 front legs, sanding the cut smooth. I drilled holes where the chair would meet the wall and added long screws for support. Before mounting, I stenciled a simple coffee design onto burlap, taped it behind the seat frame, and trimmed it to fit. To install, I propped boards against the wall to help level the chair, then secured it in place. If you plan to add weight, be sure to screw into studs or use wall anchors. Now for the fun part, styling. I added a wood tray to the seat to create a flat surface, hung mugs with S-hooks along the bottom rung, and placed the boards on different rungs to create adjustable shelves. This chair wall shelf is perfect for a cozy coffee station, kitchen storage, or even holding recipe books and utensils. Using a child-sized chair keeps it lightweight, compact, and true to its original charm. So next time you need a small shelf, consider turning an old chair into something functional and beautiful, without spending a fortune.
I found this old wooden box at a thrift store and I knew it had potential. First, I gave it a good sanding to smooth out the surface. Then we flipped it upside down and measured 1.5 inches in from each corner. That's where we drilled holes, just slightly smaller than the rope we were using. Next, we measured out the length of rope we wanted and then doubled it so that it was one long strand that would go from the front to back holes on each side. We threaded each end through the holes and tied a secure knot underneath to keep the box suspended and sturdy. Once the rope was in place, I gave the box a rich stain to bring out the wood's natural beauty. After it dried, we hung it on the wall using nails, letting the rope do the work to hold it up. And just like that, this simple thrift store find became a stylish, space-saving hanging table, perfect for a cozy reading nook, a bedside shelf, or even a plant stand.
I found these beautiful chairs on the curb for free and loaded them into my car for my next project. First, I removed the seat cushions and gave them both a good clean. Then using a sanding block, I lightly sanded all the surfaces just enough to remove the glossy finish. Next, I placed the chairs side by side with a 12-inch gap. I cut a couple of 2x4s, made pocket holes on either ends, and connected the 2 chairs together. Then I measured the total length of the seating area and cut 3/4-inch thick pine boards to size. I needed 3 1x6 boards for this seat. I rounded the edges and sanded it smooth with 120 grit sandpaper. After wiping off the dust, I stained the wood with an outdoor-grade stain in walnut shade. Next, I sprayed an even coat of white primer on the chairs. Once the primer dried, I applied multiple coats of this light beige paint that's good for both indoor and outdoor use. Once it was dry, I placed the wood seat on top and secured it by adding screws from underneath. And there you have it, a modern bench made from old chairs. Perfect to add a little charm to your front porch, cozy up your deck, or create a hangout spot in your yard.
I've had an old shutter hanging around for a while now, and I finally found the perfect project for it. To start this project, I need to level out the back of the shutter. I want to add some spindles to it, and right now there's this little ridge that I want to make even. These little thin tongue depressors should do the trick and fill in the space so that it's all level. To keep them securely in place, I want to cover one side with wood glue and then lay them onto the shutter. While that shutter glue is drying, I want to go ahead and start painting these 4 vintage spindles I had. I don't mind if the paint's a little thin in some areas, as I want it to look a little bit worn and aged. Now that the shutter's ready to work with, I want to give the pieces I just glued on a quick sanding to make sure there are no uneven or high spots. It's time to paint the shutter now, and I'm going to use the same paint I did with the spindles. Like the spindles, I'm not worried about covering the entire shutter. I'm okay with little bits of the wood peeking through here and there. With the shutter completely painted, I'm ready to attach the spindles to it. I'm using a high tack wood glue so that they stay in place quickly and securely while the glue is drying. This little table is perfect to the end of my couch, and I love when I can repurpose old items to make something new. I hope this has inspired you to make something out of your old shutters as well.
I was driving down the road the other day and noticed this chair sitting out for free. There's only one of them, but I got a great idea for it. First thing I'm going to do is remove the support that's holding the backrest. It's only 2 screws and it was easy to take off. Next step is to take my oscillator and cut off the back of the backrest. Then I'm going to use a drill and drill through where the seat was being held together. I'm going to pull this little plug out, but I want to leave the hole because I've got an idea for it. Next step is to take some 80 grit sandpaper and sand down the top of the seat because I'm going to restain it. Once that's done, I'm going to move up to 220 to give it a nice smooth look. The next step after this is to take what's called a Forstner bit. This Forstner bit, I'm going to match to the same size hole that I already had removed, measure down 5 inches on both sides, and I'm going to start drilling through. A Forstner bit, you don't want to push too hard, but rock back and forth and get a nice, perfect, solid drill size out of it. Once I do this and then go ahead and clear off the sawdust, it's ready to go. I'm also going to grab a 1/2 inch Forstner bit and start drilling in some pre-marked locations. But you may not notice I did make a mistake. The left side hole is a little too close to the edge, but I've got a solution that I can make this fixed and make it work. I'm going to take the sawdust that I had drilled through, I'm going to put it in a cup. The sawdust is the same wood that I used when I drilled through. By mixing some wood glue together, I'm going to mix it together to make it kind of like a little bit of a Play-Doh. Then I'm going to take this, after I put some wood glue in the hole and mix it all around, I'm going to take this little putty that I made and I'm going to pack it into the hole that I want to get rid of. I'm going to stuff it in there with the popsicle stick and then try to level it off on the top. I need this to dry for about an hour. While it's doing that, I'm going to take the legs and all the supports and I'm going to put a primer on there. I'm going to use a white primer and let it dry a good couple of hours, and then I'm going to take some nice cabinet paint and give it a nice smooth finish, and I'm also going to put 2 coats on there. As you can see, it's looking really good with just that first coat. Now it's time to sand down that little plug that I got rid of. Once it gets sanded down, it's going to look really good. When I stain it, it's actually going to look awesome. But before I stain, I want to get some pre-stained wood conditioner. What this does is I'm going to put this all around the top of the seat and it keeps the stain from blotching. This is definitely something you want to put on and let dry for about an hour. Once that's done, I'm going to grab some ebony stain and start putting it on there, going with the grain, but also making sure I get pushed in with my rag. I use a rag and not a brush because I feel like it gives it a nice clean finish. And then once that dries overnight, I'm going to use some polyurethane to put some nice finish on this, and it gives it a nice coating and it also gives it a nice protectant. Once that's all done and it dries, I'm going to grab some rope here. This is 1 inch thick rope, and I'm going to tape the end so I can push it through the larger size holes on 2 of each side. Once I push that down in there and get the perfect length that I want, I'm going to tie a knot on both sides and then I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to do the same with the smaller holes. Then I'm going to grab some sandpaper and just kind of rough up the legs a little bit to give it kind of a rustic look. I love how this is turning out. Now watch this. I'm going to put it at the front door. Look at those nice little twine ropes and everything and that perfect finish, and it looks awesome. And it's great for holding up a potted plant, anything that I want to put out there. I think it turned out beautiful. I hope this inspired you to not throw that old furniture away, but go ahead and upcycle as you please. Thanks for watching Home Talk, and we'll catch you next time.